My mom has ingested more waiter spit than anyone you've ever met.
Ray?
Yeah, Sean.
I'd like to think that we have hot dudes on the show every week. But this week we really do have a hot dude.
We have a handsome guy here, and I want to welcome Matthew Broussard to the show, to the brand new Jerks.
Ray, you just said that like you were doing a school project, like a school interview.
Well, we've never.
You're our first guest.
You're our
on the
first
podcast.
guest. I've never had to introduce anybody on here before.
But you
so
said
You've never had a guest before?
No. We've been doing a
we're
podcast for
starting
a
a
year.
new thing. You're number one.
And you're the first guy that I texted to ask
or
to
I'm
do
the
it.
guinea pig, or I'm like the first.
No,
you're
no.
gonna find your voice with me.
We don't say
no.
Guinea on the. That's not thing. We don't attack. We don't attack Italian Americans on the show anymore.
Italian.
Yeah, I'm 1.9% Italian actually per 23andMe.
There's a girl I had a crush on in high school named Jenny, and then after knowing her for a long time, I turned around and I saw in her book back her name was spelled Ginnie. And then forever she was Guinea to me.
Isn't that Guinea? Ginnie? Oh, Guinea, yeah.
It's Jenny, but
it's Ginny.
Guinea is how it looks like it's spelled.
Did you stop having a crush on her once you found out she was Italian?
I will say the difference in spelling changed my perception of her.
Really?
Like I saw her as a different person after that.
Well, that's also the spelling of like somebody from the turn of the century. Like it's a very like old fashioned. Yeah. It's a very old fashioned-y type spelling of Ginny. Because I feel like
colonial baby, deep south. Let's do it.
Even if you like from 90s on, if you were Ginny, if you were like named Ginny, you'd probably be like a Ginny. Isn't there like that as well?
There is that. I feel like that would probably be Ginny, one of the Harry Potter characters named that, I believe.
Is it really?
It's Harry's squeeze.
Yeah.
Harry's main squeeze.
Harry's
He
last?
fucked his best friend's sister.
Yeah.
Can I curse? I'm just going to keep asking.
Yes, you can curse.
Can I curse? I want a podcast called Can I Curse?
That's a good bit. I love that. Wait, fuck. Wait, can I do that?
You ever say a filthy joke during a show and you look at the host, you go, wait, can I curse?
Yeah. Dude, so what we do on the podcast is a podcast for recovering people pleasers. And we actually wanted your perspective because I think you get this all the time. You're a handsome dude. You know what you talk about in your act. You're very self-aware, handsome dude. Like it's kind of like down-to-earth handsome dude.
I wish I wasn't. It was forced upon me. If I had never started comedy, I could have just gone around being like, I'm a guy everyone likes and no one feels threatened by and nothing I do comes off as arrogant or cocky. But yeah, then I just had some experience with comedy where drunk people just tell you exactly what they think of you.
So this is kind of crazy then. You are I feel like you have some people pleaser in you, but it's because you're
late onset.
Because you're worried how you come off.
Yes, that's part of it. Yeah, I would definitely say I know, like, I will never raise my voice at a waiter if I have any weird demand. I try to not, even when I'm ordering coffee and like asking for specifics, I don't want to be the guy who's like, don't you dare get it wrong. I'm like, just a little bit, and then whatever they pour, I'll drink. I don't want to be the guy who's like, too much cream, you know.
You're not bringing back anything. Because
Yeah.
then that immediately becomes like an online clip of, look at this entitled douchebag. Exactly. Even though I've known you for years and you're a great guy. It's like one of these things where it's like, but most guys would be like, oh, I'd love to look like that guy, but you're kind of right. Like you have to kind of step on eggshells.
Overall, I will say.
Yeah,
you definitely do want this.
Yeah,
I will say it certainly outweighs the decadence, but
the sex part's tight. But you
The
just
sex
can't be
part's
aggressive
great.
when you order coffee.
Yeah, the free shit from waitresses. Yeah, it's all great, man.
Yeah, male Karen or getting laid? Which one is?
People coming to my shows and not knowing my comedy. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I remember my girlfriend's a member at the New York Athletic Club, which is this super old money, just crazy expensive place on Central Park.
Been around forever.
Been around forever.
Yeah, they have a couple locations.
And what they do is my girlfriend was a very elite athlete, and they love to have those people join for free so that rich, old, unathletic people go, yeah, I train next to Laura Sogar. I just spit on you there, sorry.
That's quite all right, don't worry about it.
You know, like I trained next to this guy. So she was a member, and I remember I walked in one night, and there was a couple ahead of us for the coat check, and the guy looked exactly like me. Just blonde, slick back hair, wearing a blazer, and he was just reaming out the woman who like couldn't find his coat. Let me speak to your manager. I want to be like, buddy, we can't do this. You and I, we don't get to do this, okay? You're making us look bad.
This is not in our wheelhouse. Don't
This
you
is
say
not, we are not, I'm sure every minority group has that, but where you see someone reinforcing the perceptions already thrust upon your type, you're like, no.
Oh, I'm a big dude. Like when I see like another big dude do some like egregious fat guy shit at a restaurant, I'm like, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah,
all of us.
doing like sloppy
so
stuff.
He like when his ass crack's hanging out somewhere.
Dude, that's why I've told you this. When I
Get it together, man.
Yeah,
Get it together.
if I get the littlest stain on my shirt while I'm out, I will go. I've done it. I've gone and bought the shirt, and switched it out and chucked the shirt because I'm like, I can't as a when I was bigger, same thing. Where it's like, I'm like, I can't have a stain on my shirt because I don't want to have that look like I'm a slob out in public.
I've never thought of that. That's really tough.
Yeah.
There's days where like I wake up just so haggard and like my hair is matted and I just walk downstairs in like slippers to go to the grocery store. I'm like, if that was another race, I probably couldn't do that.
That's the real white privilege.
Yeah,
right
I was like,
you
I
can just think
about that.
Go into the store with bedhead. That's just one of the privileges of being white. Yeah.
I sometimes
but also when
you're
good looking, it probably looks like you purposely did it. Like like it's almost like when you see like those runway shows where they have like pillows strapped to their head. Like that's the whole derelict.
Yeah. I look pretty bad in the mornings, but yeah, I'll take it.
But so that is a form of people pleasing in a way. What you're doing because you're like, I don't want to be viewed this way. We're doing it. Ours comes from like probably background and like upbringing and like I don't know what our basis or our like origin story for
I just want people to like me so bad. Like the way I even communicate with people, if like I have to like ask for something or like even like Sean, who I'm like good friends with, like for a while, like when we first, like if I was like asking him for a favor, like, hey, can you help me shoot something or do this? I would like draft text and show it to other people, like, hey, is this okay to send, or am I gonna look like an asshole? He's probably gonna hate me.
Like it's a dating app.
Oh, I would start it off with, hey, don't hate me, but can you help me out with this audition?
Yeah, you would do that.
I abuse the exclamation mark.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Abuse. Yeah. I'll look back through an email, I'm like every sentence, including the salutation and the sign off had an exclamation.
Mine is, hey there. It must come off on a psychopath.
That at least matches your tone. My tone's a little droll. I'm like, I feel like you wake up like, good morning. What a day it's going to be.
I look like a guy who just has a bird comes in and I sing to him.
You ever text Liz from the cellar?
Yes.
And the contrast between your tone and hers?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
You'd be like, Liz, thanks so much for the opportunity to perform last night. It really helped me get my set in line for the Tonight Show, and I really appreciate all the opportunities you've given me. She just replies, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how people have that type of confidence, because I would think about, I was like, man, I feel like such a dick. They probably hate me because I just hit him with an okay, but I was busy. It was all I could fire off at the time.
Well, you know me. My big one is no sweat. So if somebody, I'm like in a short little way to tell people, hey, sorry, I had to do this, and then I write back, no sweat, and I mean it. Like I'll be like, hey, no sweat at all. That's no problem. But the exclamation point is such a good one, because have you ever had this where somebody calls you out on the I've had people make fun of me for it on text. The text back where they text back 400 exclamation points, like, hey, dude, you're overusing the exclamation.
I'd be so insecure if that happened to me.
I went through a huge.
Who did that to you?
I forget. I don't even think it was a comic. I think it was somebody from home. I think it was like a friend of mine.
Think of a comic who would do that to you, and I won't name him.
Is he a friend of ours? Like, is he a good guy? Oh yeah.
Good comic. Yeah.
I got made fun of during my LOL phase. I did LOLs instead of exclamation points.
I luckily never fell for that.
Oh, it's embarrassing when somebody makes fun of you for that.
LMAO. Yeah, I cringe at that a bit. Yeah.
I do ha-has, which that might even sound, at that point, you just sound psychotic as well.
Can we please note the inflation for ha and ha-ha and ha-ha-ha? I remember when a ha-ha used to be like, oh, it's funny, good.
Yeah.
When I texted something, now it's like, if it's not 3, they hate it. Just ha-ha means they didn't laugh.
The currency?
Ha is insulting.
The currency of ha's?
The currency of ha's has massively defeated. One ha, when someone says ha to you, it means it's not funny. It's
ha's a heckle.
You know what ha is? You just hear Norman's voice.
Ha.
Ha.
I hate to call him out on this podcast.
Go ahead.
But Mike Lawrence is one of those people. Mark Norman's similar. They're just told a lot of jokes.
Yes.
And they always seem to react positively.
Yes.
But Mark Norman's told so many jokes that he has to just, he's learned to kind of go, ha. Like, it's just, as a polite thing. Mike Lawrence, I noticed him. I'm so sorry, Mike, for calling you out. He's such a sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart.
He's such a funny guy.
Just had a baby.
And he's a guy who's like learned how to be a really nice person after I'm saying too much about him. You should have him on the podcast. But he's one of those people who's worked on this, and it's really cool to see him grow, because he was cool by before. And I just had a kid. But being in a writer's room with him, I'd pitch him ideas, and this is, instead of expending all the energy going ha ha ha, or it might sound fake, he just goes, and it's so
Just wait.
convincing.
For the audio, you just tilted your head back
You
with a
tilt your head back
smile.
and it looks so convincing, and it's so much less effort than faking laughter.
And
And
you know
you
what?
feel so good seeing it, and it makes you feel funny, and then you keep writing better jokes.
You know
so
what's
it's a great tactic in a writing.
You know what's crazy? Mike's done that to me back in the day when he lived in New York, and I always thought it was genuine. And now I'm realizing it's his polite way to be like,
It might be.
Hey, man, that's decent, but I'm not going to actually laugh at what
Sorry, Mike, I'm spilling your secrets.
Because comedy-wise, I don't know if people know, like they are the go-tos. Norman's my go-to of does somebody do this? Because he always knows. I don't know about now as much, but back in the day, Norman always knew if somebody did
Mike's the
this
same
bit.
way.
Yeah.
Mike will be, Mike and Mark both have just that inventory of every joke ever written. They have studied comedy like it's a college degree.
You need a friend like that doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're both autistic, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about that's the comic. We had never talked about that in the podcast. That's the there's a weird comic people pleaser thing, which we're just talking about, which is what's the hot currency you're going to give back for a bit that somebody's working on that you might think it's funny. Because here's the thing, they might think it's funny, but you're not gonna. How many times do you genuinely laugh a week? I mean, where you're like dying laughing.
If I do, it's not going to be something you can take to the stage.
Exactly.
It's going to be something
Yeah.
messy and weird and fucked up.
And it's not as much as you used to before you started doing
No,
stand-up. For sure.
very jaded. Yeah, I will. It's funny because my girlfriend will sometimes be upset. Like she'll pitch me a joke and I won't laugh. She's like, "You didn't laugh." I'm like, "I said that's funny. Do you
Yeah.
understand how much better of a compliment that's funny is than ha?"
It
Because if a
is.
joke's really good, my head starts spinning on like all that's going on and everything could go with it. So sometimes my reaction just being like, "That's funny," is like the highest praise I can give.
Right, because it's an immediate reaction.
And it's changed your perception on how you hear jokes.
Yeah.
You don't hear jokes and just start laughing at them. You're thinking of like, you're kind of like trying to finish it before it finishes in your
Yes.
head and think of like all the minutia of it. And then when it's somebody that's a friend, you're like, oh, how can I toss him a tag or something
Yeah.
like that? Help them out.
You ever do that with TV? You ever watch TV, watching a show? I did that the other day. I forget the bit, and I'm watching, and I'm going, "Oh, it's this," and then 2 seconds later, that's the exact line, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a bummer." Like,
That's a bummer.
It makes you realize how much your sense of humor changes.
You got to
from
start
doing
watching
this.
funnier stuff like Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. That's you never know what's coming down
I'm
the
actually
pipe.
sure that's not. I'm sure that's funny moments.
That's why Adventure Time is my favorite show, because all of their humor comes from places you just can't see, or it's like setting up a joke and then not finishing it. It's so good.
Well, that's also why I
Adventure-
like.
Is it a cartoon?
It's
I
done
didn't
now,
watch it.
but it's the best show ever.
That's why I like. I think you should leave because
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
so batshit. Like my mind would never come up with, and it's
Yeah.
not like these cleverly written. It's that dude, Tim Robinson. It's just his warped freaking mind. So I think that's. But I don't know if I would be as into that before I started comedy. I don't know if I would like
Sure.
have the palate to like. I think you should leave.
agree.
15
It's like
years
stinky
ago.
cheese, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the sommelier of
Yes.
yeah.
I don't know that word.
But the absolute, I think there is, in comedy it happens all the time, but there's a cool thing that happens in comedy when comics are behind closed doors where they can be as honest as possible with each other. Like, there's a lot of things where I realize that over time and getting older, how old are you?
I'm 34.
Right, okay. So as I'm getting older, like, I've realized this. I would rather people be honest with me and not people please to me at this point. Like, I'd rather you, like, just say I don't want to. I like, even with comedy or anything. Like, I can't invite you to my wedding. I don't want to invite you to my wedding. I'd be like, yeah, it's totally cool with me. I'd just be totally okay with somebody being brutally honest more than I used to feel.
The Banshees of Inisharan. I don't want to be your friend
I don't
anymore.
want to be your friend.
Watched it last night, yeah.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had a friend breakup? Like where you have to break up with a friend, or you get a message from somebody who was like, hey, I can't hang out anymore? Never,
No,
right?
never directly. I've seen my friends lose their friends. Just suddenly. I remember it happened to my best friend in college. His friend from home just kind of stopped interacting with him, all that, and they were best friends. And yeah,
It was like a ghosting. Like he
kind
just
of
quit.
friendship ghosting. Yeah.
Ooh.
This girl that naturally we just stopped talking, but I talked to a friend of hers, and the same thing happened where it wasn't just even one person. She cut off her entire friend group. And a lot of time that happens because of who they're dating or who they're with. I think it was
yeah.
the guy that she ended up marrying, and that might have been part of it. But I remember talking to years later. I was like, well, "Whatever happened to so and so? I miss her. I used to be. We were such good friends back in the day, and I don't know what happened there. I think I just moved away or whatever it was." And she's like, "Oh, she completely cut off about 30 people in her life, just out of nowhere, just one day. Not even fizzled it out. Just out of nowhere, cut them off, would not write back or do
But a
anything."
therapist told her to.
Yeah.
Therapists do that a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I have a friend who does therapy, and like he had to cut off some people in his life. He was just like, I'm just not talking to them, and I've told them I put up boundaries for myself. Do you know the song "Landed" by Ben Folds?
Not
It's
landed.
a beautiful,
no.
it's a beautiful song, and it's all about a guy saying, who basically ended his friendships with his guy friends, and then got divorced, and was like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry. Can we patch this back up? It's all my fault. If you wrote me off, I'd understand it because I've been on some other planet. Yeah, and then come pick me up, landed. Yeah."
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all about his I believe his wife cutting him off from his friends, or him choosing to cut off his friends because of his wife, and then trying to reconcile that. It's really beautiful.
It's
Guy
weird.
writes really good songs.
'Cause I think that cutting off the relationship, a friendship, can probably be healthy for somebody if it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you find it where it's a lot of times, sometimes it's like a one-sided thing, and you're not getting anything out of it, and you feel. If it makes you feel like less than, because I feel like even with the people pleaser thing, where it's like you feel like you're coddling this person all the time, it probably is a healthy decision for yourself to be like, hey, I got to worry about myself.
I don't think we're there yet. I'm looking at your face. I can't cut off friendships, and if someone tries to cut off mine, I still hold on to it. Are you the same?
Me, I don't.
I've never done it.
I can't cut off a friendship. I've never cut off a friendship.
so hard.
I've never done it. I'm just saying that.
But you could take that rejection well, and I couldn't. Even if they weren't even that good of a friend, if I felt like I was excluded from something, I would hurt me.
You think you could take the Banshees of Inertia? I just don't want to be your friend anymore.
It would
because
hurt.
you're dull.
Because
somebody
yeah,
told
he
you
does.
that.
Well, that's like an extreme.
I know, but I'm saying like, but that is just like a blunt way to do it. Like I could probably deal with the ghosting. I would still try to keep it alive in my own way, like sending.
I would stew on it. I would
Yeah.
really think about it. Yeah.
You wonder. I guess
I remember people who didn't call me back. I remember 2 people I've called and they didn't call me back, and I'm still waiting. You know what I mean? Like you never called me back.
It was a while ago. They called you from a landline.
This was during the pandemic. Yeah.
I have it where I've done this. I have done this where I have friends of mine that I'm the one that always contacts them. But when I do, we'll be on the phone for about 45 minutes. And I've actually thought about being like, well, I'm just not going to reach out anymore. I'm just going to stop calling and see what happens because I'm the one who's always doing it anyway.
That's a good point.
Oh, wow.
I can't get off the phone. That's where that's how bad. Like my people pleaser tendencies are so fucking bad that like if I'm on the phone with somebody and I could tell they just really need to talk, I could have shit to do and I'm like pushing it back because I don't have the heart to just cut them off and be like, hey man, I really gotta go.
Oh, I'm great at that. I don't think I'm a people pleaser. I think I'm a rule follower, which overlaps a bit.
Oh,
How do
you mean
think?
as far as like universe rules? You mean meaning like karma rules? Or you mean like just like
Public
traffic
etiquette rules. Like airplanes piss me off so much where I'm like, if you just followed these little rules that are kind of unexplicitly stated for all of us, everything will be better. And if you don't do that, I'll judge you.
Yes.
If you were causing a 30-second slowdown because you were doing something stupid with someone behind you, that's 30 seconds added to each of our days. You multiply that by the number of people in the plane. That kind of stuff really pisses me off. People who just don't follow basic rules. I'm also a cyclist, so I don't follow any rules when I bike. So hypocrite there, but.
I'm the same way. We were talking about that recently. Line cutters does that to me. Line
Really
cutters
bothers
is
me.
it's a big one.
I'm such a rule follower that if I'm driving and I'm not sure exactly where I'm going and I see a line of people in a lane, for like the right side is all backed up because that's a heavy exit. I'm like, I'll just get in there because that's probably where I should be.
Oh well, but you're doing the right thing because it's like when you're trying to merge onto a bridge or something,
and then they come around. I hate those people. I learned my brother's one of those people. Isn't that a wild revelation? That someone you love, he's like, oh yeah, always cut him off. Always just jump in at the end.
Oh no!
I don't like. You get madder than I do.
I
and you're
get
a
road
fucking
rage for him.
passenger.
We just did gigs together. We do them all the time, and I get road rage for him in his car. And you can be honest. You were getting mad at me yesterday.
I wasn't. I just find it like because like it was those people doing that asshole thing. But I have such an issue where like I get nervous that I'm gonna crash my car. I don't want to get in a fender bender just because I'm trying to be aggressive, keeping this guy from being a jerk.
That's a healthier response.
But Donnelly, every time somebody even like merged in front of me, he's like, "These fucking assholes again!" Every time. What the fuck are you doing? And he's doing the thing, like hoping that they see him. And then finally, after like 6 times of doing this, and granted, I am a pussy when I drive, but I was finally like, Sean. It's all right, man. We're gonna get there.
And you were right. You were the one driving.
You don't know the battles people fight. Each one of us is fighting many battles. The kind for each of us is fighting a great battle.
I know what you mean by the rule thing because the line thing for me is huge. And the airplane. We were talking about how and people just shoot up the minute the bell goes off. It might as well be a starter's pistol.
It's
People
like, why
just
are you
go,
blocking this if you're not even the next boarding zone?
Exactly. Well, not even going on. I'm talking getting off. Where people get off, and if they find a slot, they'll cut the getting off line. If you have a couple of rows of seats where people haven't gotten up yet, somebody will warp zone it and go past those rows of seats.
I did that once and got yelled at, and I've never done it since. It was the most embarrassing moment of my life. My dad was on his deathbed, which I should have said, but it was just like a Floridian. You are rude. You are obnoxious. Something to me in front of everyone. I was like, I took a step back.
Jesus. Yeah, the one time you're like, I have to break this rule because I have to get there fast.
Yeah.
And for a really, really good reason.
I don't know, there was like 3. On some level, that shouldn't be the rule. Like, there should be a polite level of like, there's 3 lanes open and no one stood up yet. If I move out now, it actually saves everyone time.
Yeah.
Whereas if I pause, that just adds a couple.
I'm surprised you didn't even say it though. You weren't like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm going through some shit. I gotta get out of here.
I went and found her off the plane. I was like, that was really rude the way you confronted me.
Did you really?
And she
Ooh,
goes, you're rude. I go, you're trash.
This is your jerk store moment.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It shook me. All those little, tiny little conversations shake me so much.
So you got off the plane in the airport, went to go find this woman, the one who confronted you on the plane.
Went to find her. I found her
right immediately.
pretty shortly after.
And you were like, hey, the way you did that was rude.
Yeah.
And
that
she
was
was
really
like,
insulting.
And she didn't back down.
She didn't back down.
She was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Wow. I like the fact that you did it though.
Yeah.
You
and I wasn't like, I wasn't trying to say I was in the right. I kind of realized I had done it wrong. You're not going to admit that you were wrong right in the moment, but you were like, it was a mistake, but I wish I should, like if someone was doing that to me, I would have tried to find a way to do it more politely. Oh, here's my story. Sticking up for myself. Can I tell one of them now?
Yeah, go for it.
Sitting in front of a plane, had like an upgraded seat on a very small Delta flight, and in the row in front of me, I heard someone playing their game without the headphones in. And we're all looking around, and I just lean around. I go, hi, would you like to borrow a pair of headphones? And this old lady who looks exactly like my mom, she goes, no, but that's so sweet of you. Thank you, young man. I go, yeah. She goes, appreciate that's so nice. And then maybe she got the hint from that, because then the sound stopped, and then getting off the plane, she was like, again, that was so sweet. And I got her bag and everything. And luckily my tone didn't show the fact that it was actually pure vile, like venom I was spitting at her. So she thought I was a nice person, and everyone on the plane knew that I was actually just being a bastard.
It's a good moment, though. You probably felt great.
I was embarrassed, but I was like, got out of that one. Thank God.
You got away with it.
And I was like, let's try to do this the polite, part of it was measured of like, let's do it not the, hey, you idiot. Let's try to kind of play it nice so maybe they realize they're in the wrong. But
turn down the game, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you brought up a good point. I've been trying to do that because I think I come off really negative all the time. Like, and what about a comedy version of that on stage? I talk to the crowd so much. My new thing is I don't want to talk to them at all for the most part. Longer set, yeah.
Trade you.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, I know.
Material,
yeah. But I had a instance recently where these 2 girls, I waited as long as I could. They were talking like 4 minutes straight. I'm not kidding. And I ignored it. And then finally I'm like, guys, what's up? Like, and I'm like, let me not be. Normally I would have been like, what the fuck? And like we're done, like me being goofy, yelly guy, whatever. But
because no matter if you approach them aggressively, it doesn't matter how in the wrong they are, they'll never admit it.
That's what happened. And but here's the thing. When I first started comedy, people had shame, and they go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, X, Y, and Z."
That's
changed. I thought I was.
It's a new
changed
breed.
completely. Yeah. And I went, guys, what's the story? Literally, they turn around and they go, "We're dealing with we're trying to reconcile a breakup here." And I go, I think they meant between each other or their friends or whatever it was. And I go, what? And they go, 4-year relationship. We broke up. We're trying to fix it. And I go, are you fucking? And I went off and I made silly jokes about it instead of just being like, fuck you. And like, but I'm like, what
they kind of handed you a comedy. Like
exactly.
some DIY right there. Yeah.
Exactly. But I was curious, have you ever had that on stage where you're like, I'm gonna have a jerk store moment on stage. I'm gonna say exactly what I want. And it mostly turns into crowd work, but I'm like, I don't know how you usually handle it to begin with, but I'm like, I'm the type where I fly off the handle. I'm like, I want to reverse that. You know what I mean?
I can't. I've never gotten away with any kind of. When I get angry, it's not fun to watch.
Right.
Watching a white privileged looking guy get angry just breaks everything I'm trying to build on stage. Or it just it just sounds like I'm going to complain to my dad or something. You know what I mean? It's just that kind of authority you don't want to see succeed in this world.
You're just going to go be mean to John Cusack or something.
I did. Can I tell one more airplane story?
Yeah, whatever you like. Yeah.
So I'm very cognizant of the Southwest boarding process. I was Southwest for like 8 years, had all their status, and it's just such a shit show. Choose your own seat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You watch people really bumble it and not understand it and ruin it and try to save seats and all that kind of stuff.
Oof, brutal.
Story before the story, I was sitting 4th row back, early boarding. First row fills up with 3 women, and a woman walks back. She goes, "Hi, can you save that window seat for me?" I was like, okay. And then someone later on getting on the flight was like, is someone sitting there? I'm like, they're saving it. And she walks up and reamed them out. You're like, you can't save that seat. I'm taking that seat. They're like, no. And she's like, no, you can't save seats for a row you're not even in. No, what? I was like, I wish I had been that person.
So that reamed her out?
That was just called, just instantly, I'm not saving a seat for you in a row you're not sitting in.
But you were trying to do the people pleaser thing of being like, all right, no problem.
I was so aghast. Yeah. The real story, okay. So I was sitting left side aisle seat, and then in my row on the right side, I saw a woman get in. One woman takes the aisle seat, another woman gets in the window seat, and I see her stick one bag under her seat and one bag under the middle seat. Catch that immediately. Really rude, and it's going to be fixed by the end of the flight.
Yeah.
Now the flight is completely full, and people are getting on. This woman's just, you can tell she's not a regular flyer. She's just chatty at the mouth. And a guy gets on the plane, rushing on the plane with his wife. And they're like, okay, we're making a tight connection. We're late. We just need to sit close to the front. Is this middle seat open? They go, yeah. He sits in it. And then I see him look with his backpack. There's no overhead bin space left. And he goes, whose is this? She goes, that's mine. He goes, you need to move it. She was like, well, there might not be any space. I'm sorry. He was like, it's my space. You need to move it right now. Yeah. She was like, okay, first of all, you're being very rude. He's like, I don't care. This is my space. You need to put it up there.
Oh, man.
She was like,
that guy's my hero.
Your tone. And they're starting to talk back and forth. I go, I think there's space right here. I saw it fill up. And I go, hand me the bag. And I hand it to him, and I'm like, see, it fits right there. And they go, thank you. And then the plane starts. Guy's just cool as ice, man.
Doesn't give a shit.
Doesn't give a shit. And she was like, that was very rude. He was like, I don't care. Flight's taking off now. She was like, well, first of all, let's restart. Maybe we can restart this. He was like, I'm not going to speak to you this flight.
Oh, my God.
Swear to God. She was like, I don't like your tone. He's like, I don't care. And she was like,
God.
very rude. You're very rude. You're very rude. And she orders like 2 drinks. And then here's the crazy. Oh, and she goes, you could be polite like that young man over there. Tension's building. This is the only thing all of us in any row around her are listening to. And I just go, leave me out of this. And it breaks the tension. Everyone laughs. And then it's quiet. And then getting off the plane, that guy darts off the plane because he has a connection with his wife.
Yeah.
And then she's slowly just bumbling out of the plane. She goes, that man was so rude. And the woman in the row in front of him goes, I know, he was such a jerk. Yeah. Another woman says, like, yeah, he was so impolite about it. And she goes, thank you, by the way. And I was like, no, you are all in the wrong.
I was going to say it would have been great if they were making out by the end of the flight.
That's what I thought you were going to say. He fucked her in the bathroom.
He mile hide her.
But you just couldn't convince this woman that she had done something wrong, even when it was objective. And it's like, I get his tone's wrong, but it's a flight. We don't give a fuck.
Both
about
of
your
them
feelings.
are assholes.
I like the guy. In that whole story.
I like the guy.
I wish I could handle anything in my life the way that guy did.
I could never.
You know how sure of him that guy is achieving
I would have been like,
what we're trying
I'll just stuff it under my shirt.
I'll just throw it out the window.
I'll eat it. Yeah.
But that guy, like the point of the podcast is to make us more assertive. That guy, you know how completely one with himself that guy is?
He's
he
the
did
goal.
not give a shit. He probably was part
I'm
asshole.
not speaking to you for the rest of this flight.
The idea of going,
We're not
you were
going to
rude.
talk.
I don't care.
I would have paid for her drinks and put her large suitcase on my lap if I had to.
Yeah.
You're from Albuquerque? It's a pleasure.
I'm such a like, I don't like this tension. I'm
Yes.
like, I'll find space for it. We'll move things around.
Exactly.
What do you think it comes from though? Because it seems like all of us share that the lack of confrontation or like the not wanting confrontation. Because I have some friends that fucking love it.
My mom loves it.
Really?
My mom lives for it.
Why didn't it rub off?
My mom has ingested more waiter spit than anyone you've ever met. Just gallons. Just loves confrontation. She got lifted by a cop last week.
No, she did
She
not.
got picked up and removed by a cop.
Where was it?
She was going to the temple in Atlanta because Raphael Warnock was speaking. The temple is what it's called. Huge, Peachtree. And she got there, couldn't find parking, so she went across the street, parked there. and then crossed Peachtree on foot, very dangerous, 76-year-old lady. And she walked straight into the parking lot to the cop hired as security for an event at a Jewish temple featuring Raphael Warnock. That is a terrorist. What a twofer. You know what I mean? Really, two birds, one stone, if that's your thing, right? So clearly that cop was working that night. She walked straight up. She goes, "You are not doing your job. You couldn't put up a sign that said there's no parking. You couldn't direct us. I had to park across the street and cross the street." I'm like she just finds a cop to yell at.
And what happened?
He was like, "I don't like your tone." She was like, "I don't care if you don't like my tone. You need to do your job." And he goes, and then starts to go into the temple. He's like, "You can't go in there." She was like, "Stop me." He picks her up. She smacks him back. Starts hitting him. She was like, "Well, he picked me up." I'm like, "He's a cop. You're resisting arrest. You could go to jail."
Oh my God! You know that's generation. It's not generational, but it's age.
Age,
yeah, my mom.
Your
has
mom's
to.
a badass.
Badass. Here's the craziest part. Then she can't get into the temple. She calls the director to the temple. Director comes out. I'm so sorry. We'll let you in. Here. I'm sorry. You remember everything. She goes. She watches it. She comes back out. My mom goes and finds the cop to get his name and badge number. And in the middle of that confrontation, the director finds her and goes, "We looked you up. You're not a member here. You need to get out of here." My dad was a coward, so I think I got it from him.
Your mom has like the privilege.
This was last week.
And she has no. And if you talk to her about it, there's no qualms about it. She's just like
that one. She was shaken enough by where I'm like, "Mom, I love you. You can't do that. You can't hit a cop. You can't." She was like, "Well, I can't control my rage in those moments." I'm like, "Listen, it's okay to be vindictive, but it's better to be coldly vindictive."
My whole family doesn't like confrontation, but my sister-in-law loves it. So she's the one that anytime we need to return something where we think it might be an issue, or anytime you need to call customer service, we just send her in she's a SEAL team, and we've sent her into Dick's with returning a golf club with no tags, no receipt, and she goes in there and she comes out in 5 minutes and she's like, "Yeah, they tried to give me shit, but here's the money." Like, oh my God, how the fuck did that happen?
My girlfriend's like that too. It's great.
she doesn't care.
Oh, she loves it, right? Emails, all of it.
I want to ask you.
She doesn't care what some random person thinks of her.
Oh my God.
She loves her friend group and wants to stay powerful within the people she's close to, or not powerful.
She would you call your girlfriend, who I know, super assertive? Would you?
Yes.
It's very assertive.
Very assertive.
And that probably, and she's like you said, she's a world-class athlete. That's got to come partially from that. And you're
mom
a
has
big
it.
trainer as well, but she was a competitor.
Yeah, I like exercising. I like cardio.
Right. Not like that.
Athlete.
Yeah.
Got my heart rate nice and high today.
Here's the thing. I wanted to ask you this before we go. You have a theory that Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City is the evil asshole from that show.
I think
She's
it's my girlfriend's theory, but yeah, she was
Okay.
like, that show is a much better show if you accept that Carrie Bradshaw is the villain.
And what's the reasoning? I have to find out.
Do you watch?
I watched it once through back in the day.
In every situation she has, she's the one to blame. You look at all these things, I'm like, it's not even two-sided. She's a crazy girlfriend. She's a bad friend. She screws everyone over and we're somehow on her side because she does the sweet narration at the end.
And isn't it right? They make her seem
She makes
like,
a stupid pun.
Yes. And doesn't she date both dudes at the same time, or is it she goes back and forth or something?
There's one, I can't even remember which boyfriend it was, but she confronts him in the rain, right? Banging on his door. I'm like, don't do that. You're in the wrong. He's allowed to be tepid about not jumping headfirst into full-on commitment. You've gone on 3 dates. And you're like, if you don't want to spend forever with me, we can't waste our time. I'm like, save that for the 7th date, maybe? Yeah. I don't know.
That'd be like meeting on Tinder and then immediately turning around.
And my girlfriend has the same theory about go look at Laura Sogar, go follow her, all that. But she has the same theory about Emily in Paris, or Emily,
which I haven't seen, but she's just an asshole in the show.
She's reckless, and everything that comes to her is her own fault. She reaps what she sows.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that have that I've been seeing the theory now that the show's been done for so long that Jim and Pam in The Office are bad people.
I love Jim.
Well, but how's the theory?
Jim's funny, so I forgive him for everything.
Well, they say that Jim was just
taunting an autistic guy.
Yeah, was bullying a guy that
woman's
clearly has some
wife.
mental health issues.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's also didn't Mindy Kaling come out and she was and somebody she was one of the producers, writers, on the show, and she was like, "Yeah, it was problematic." You know, like, and it's like, you mean that show that made your career? That you absolutely. And I'm like, yeah. But,
the one thing that unified our country's liberals and conservatives alike is the funniest show ever made.
and also also people who watch the show, The Office, get that the people doing the bad, maybe not the Jim and Pam theory, but like Steve Carell's supposed to be like ignorant. Like that's the whole point.
It's
of the
funny
show.
because how shitty he is,
Right?
And like how like politically incorrect he is, and if you're laughing like I don't think many people were laughing like, oh yeah, he's like a normal regular guy, like that's how you should be. You should say, you should put your foot in your mouth saying racist shit all the time when you're the boss.
Exactly.
He's such a great character.
He's
one thing I still
unbelievable.
love to this day is how many people do "That's What She Said" as a joke, not realizing that joke is a joke written by some of the funniest people alive, making fun of people who have a bad sense of humor.
Who would say it with
Yeah,
with
It was
genuine
actually-
intent?
Yeah, like people think that was the takeaway from that show. That, oh, that's a funny thing to say. You're like, it was actually like the least funny thing. It's never funny to say "That's what she said."
We
That
talked
happens all
about that
the
on the podcast before. What's like the biggest like cringe like quoted thing that you hear? And I said that was one of mine. That's what she said. Every time I hear it, I get like, ugh, come on, man.
Dude,
my favorite cringe quote is I'm sorry, do you have a
No,
comment
go ahead.
on
No,
that particular?
No, go ahead.
Maybe because I got it as a comment on one of my stand-up videos when I posted it. Strong men make soft times make weak men makes hard times make... Well, no. Hard times make strong times make soft times make weak men make hard times make strong... Back
Oh
around.
my God.
Someone commented all that, I'm like, yeah, you a guy commenting on Instagram. You're the strong man we need. I'm no alpha, but Jesus,
That's
man.
commenting on YouTube is the least hard man thing that you can do.
Well, but even before we were talking about people not getting ironic jokes, taking them seriously, is like Nate Fernald. Do you know Nate Fernald?
Yeah, very
really
funny.
funny guy. And he did a show. He did a set. He used to write for Cord, and I think he might still. I don't know.
Still, yeah.
But he had a joke where in the setup for a joke, it was supposed to be like, this is dumb. He said he saw a guy in traffic on a motorcycle, and the back of his shirt said, "If you can read this, the bitch fell off." And see, this redneck's laughing at it. But here's the thing, like that's he's saying it like, I think the follow up of the joke is like something about like the motorcycle guy, whatever it is. But when he got to that line, it got a huge pop in this, like the audience. And I don't think he's used to normally, like in LA and New York, like I think, I don't know.
That's good comedy right there. It's like things, it kind of goes back around. Like, it's so not funny to me, but anytime I see a female body inspector t-shirt, I laugh out loud.
Yeah. But you're laughing for like the same way, like I like Fast and the Furious because of how corny it is. Like, it's like that kind of thing.
I have a t-shirt that I sell at shows. It's the Dare logo. And it says Dare. You know how it's white text under there?
Yeah.
What it says? It says in parentheses, but ironically. And I love it because it's a joke. It's a satire of satire.
Yeah.
So it's like it's making fun of a thing that's making fun of a thing. So I don't even actually know who it's making fun of.
It's a Rubik's Cube.
And I'm sure if that shirt sells well, then that'll be a bad joke. You know what I mean? Then that's a lame...
Matthew Broussard, we have to wrap this up.
So fun.
This is really fun.
I
man.
could
Thanks
go
for coming
on,
on.
man.
Can you do me a favor? Please come back. We're going to do more of these. Can you plug away anything? Podcasts, the dates, social medias?
Social media at Monday Punday on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok. I get use followers on TikTok. And yeah, just look at my clips on YouTube. And then I have a podcast called She Does Stand Up Too. With my girlfriend. Check that out. Yeah.
Fantastic. And guys, you can check us out at Brand New Jerks. Search it on YouTube. brandnewjerks@gmail.com.
brandnewjerks@gmail.com. Let us know about your jerk store moments or who you think a big jerk in your life is. Also, you could find us on TikTok at Brand New Jerks Pod. Follow us separately on Instagram. He's
At Shawnee Time.
and I'm at Ray B Killing 'em. And
Also, we're recording this at Sesh Comedy in the city. If you're in New York City and you want to come check out an awesome show, look up Sesh Comedy online. It's fantastic every week. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.